Hello, today's Saturday, it's the 8th of August and this is Summer's Way of Life. And today the whole video is going to be under the peach tree because it's probably the best place where I'm getting the right light, because it is kind of, 11 midday, around that time. The sun's high in the sky. But before I talk about the few things I want to share with you, everything I talk about is just sharing a perspective. There's no right or wrong at all, it's sharing a perspective. But before I do that, let me just show you the transformation of this peach tree. You can probably see behind me how these peaches are turning a beautiful shade of orange. But if I stay here so the light is right, just 1 second. Okay, just look at it. It's magnificent. Look. Now while I'm showing this to you, this peach tree just 3 years ago was a cutting, and it was taken from a cutting of an elderly gentleman who I became very good friends with, because he was a gardener around the corner from where I live, and I used to go and help him in his garden, and he would give me tips. You know, he was an old boy in his 90s. He died when he was 96. About about a year after he gave me the cutting. And look at how abundant this tree is and how beautiful it looks. Whenever I come out to the tree, I can actually feel his energy around the tree and around the garden. And I know I must start using the word we rather than I, so that there's a feeling of unity and not separation, because we are all we. But I know he's smiling over us whenever we're around this peach tree. He's smiling and saying, yeah, I told you it would work. I told you you'd get all these lovely peaches, pure abundance, and it really does feel like Eden. I'm going to share more stories about the peach tree in another video, because some magical things happened this year with this tree, which is probably why it is probably the most abundant in quality fruit that I've seen since I've had it. So I want to a couple of there's a couple of topics I want to talk about. I'm not sure I can do them both in one video, so I think I'm going to talk about share what I'm recognizing, realizing, and I'm learning, both from books and also from experience, of making mistakes. That's how we grow, on emotions and what they actually are. I'm going to use we. I want to cut out the I so it feels as if I'm talking about all of us. We as a human race have relatively recently come out of the 5,000-6,000 year old dark ages, the Kala Yuga. Actually, it's a lot longer than that. It's thousands of years, maybe 12,000 actually. I was listening to a very seasoned, wonderful astrologer, but she also studies a lot more than just your basic astrology. She's very keen on Egypt. Her name is Heather Ensworth. I'll put her details down. She's just one of many that I have listened to over the years and still listen to sometimes. But point being, we've come out of the dark ages and we are entering a golden age, and everything's based on the stars, the constellations, the stars, and also the inner standing that many of us are now recognizing that we're not on our own here in the universe, in the cosmos, in the galaxies. But we are unique as humans in that we have emotions. Now, the first principle I'm sharing is the ledger of knowing, the knowledge that we're energetic beings. It's very important we grasp this, that we are energetic beings. We are not this shell. And therefore, so one of the things that we have that's unique, which is one of the reasons we're here on Earth to harmonize, is having emotions. I often say it's energy in motion, and emotions are not in alignment with a high vibration. I did touch upon this in the previous video, because the natural state of who we are, the essence, the real essence of who we are, is pure love. And that love brings about states of joy, of harmony, of connection, of community, of bliss, none of which are emotions. They're kind of states of being. But because of the density that we have been living in, and because our thoughts, I think I mentioned this in the previous video, that every thought that we have is a wave form, because we are energy, and it goes out into the field. And not only are we affected by it, we who are having the thought, but those who we may be thoughting about, and just generally out into the collective consciousness field, is that thought is felt. And more often than not, I love it when the breeze just blows or the leaves just touch me at such poignant moments. And more often than not, the thoughts that we have as humanity are not positive, because they come from emotions we feel. So let me give an example. Examples are always a good way. Somebody may say something to us that triggers us. It triggers us because we have some kind of a conditioning hurt inside ourselves that has likely come from this lifetime, by how we were parented, conditioned, religion and so on, and belief systems. Could have come from a parallel lifetime, or often known as a previous, but there isn't a past, it's just parallel. It's all occurring at once. And then we're triggered by it. Now, the thing is, when we're triggered by it, what does that mean? Well, we feel anger, we feel jealousy, we feel rage, we feel hurt, and all of those things are very low vibration. And if we recognize and observe that they are not who we are, and that it is part of being human, and why we're here, to recognize the duality of that emotion. Because when I say duality, left or right, his or hers, right or wrong, black and white, that's all separation. North and south, it's all separation. So I'm digressing a little, one of the reasons that we're here on earth, one big reason, is to live in the duality, but recognize and understand that these are different perspectives. You know, I may have a certain perspective and I'm triggered, and I'm always triggered, and I'm still working through them. I'm triggered by somebody else's perspective, and then I engage in the low vibration reaction to that perspective, which then creates negative energy waveforms that go out into the field and not only negatively affect us and the people we are feeling negative about, but also negatively affect the collective consciousness, who are invariably doing the same thing. I'll come back to that. So what I was saying was, the way to harmonize that is to recognize that emotion when it comes in and stop in our tracks. And it doesn't matter if we do it afterwards. We're on a progressive learning curve. And recognize that, and then say to ourselves, first of all, I think it's really important to feel, and this is what I do now, I'm starting to really feel how am I feeling angry, am I feeling hurt? And then at the same time, I stop in my tracks and say, what am I thinking about that feeling? Oh, that person is like that. And then stop in my tracks and say, is what I'm thinking true or not? And quite often it isn't. But if it is, from our perspective, true, then have the ability to connect to our hearts and recognize that that person or that thing that happened is part of who we are. We are that. And send out as much love vibration as you can. And I know it's hard, and it's important to imagine it. And you know, pink is the energy colour. Colours are important. Oh God, I so want to talk to you about that. But you know, it is the colour of love. And to send out that vibration of pure love, and just imagination's very important. Send out light. But when we're doing that, we are also sending out that love to us, to ourselves. And that can only ever have a positive effect. Because I would say that any emotion we feel, which is a tool for us to work with, because it's a challenge and we grow from them. It's not wrong having an emotion. It's part of humanity. What humans are here to learn. But it's about working with them as a tool to say thank you. I'm grateful. I'm learning to deal with it, and I'm harmonizing it and sending back out love into the field. This is a very, very important thing. Now, the other thing that I want to share is that a perspective I'm sharing is that our dense forms are really not how we were born. Babies are not in that dense form. They're almost in their etheric body, kind of connected to their etheric body. The density comes with our thought forms that create negative emotions that then sit in the cells of our body and block out the light, because we're light beings. The more of this emotional trauma we pull out, the lighter. See how everything is suddenly blowing in the breeze? The lighter we become. So when we see people in pain, it's really gone to a very, very deep level of trauma where the pain is manifested. But many of us, most of us I would even add, have emotional pain in us, but we don't necessarily have the symptoms. You can see it in the density of our body. Once we learn to integrate that truth, and it is a truth because I'm speaking from my heart, and I've read and learned about this. We have read and learned about this, but also when we practice this, we notice the difference around us. We also notice that as we change our perspective to perceive in alignment with the laws of nature, when we change our perspective to perceive in alignment with the laws of nature, when we change our perspective to perceive in alignment with the laws of nature, we find that when we are around others who are, this is no blame, who are still living in their third dimensional dense technology of the Kali Yuga, the dark ages, our energy can't vibrate along them because it can be quite challenging. And in those situations, the best thing to do is to remove ourselves from them, or if we have worked well enough with our emotions to let it go over us and not affect us, ourselves, then just send out love. But the first duty that we have is to ourselves, because until we change ourselves and become the light of who we are, we can't broadcast, we can't become those lighthouses broadcasting that light out to others and into the waveform field. And this is what I wanted to share, that if it's this one thing that you take from what I'm talking about in this video, is understanding that emotions are gifts and tools to help us rise through challenges, understand who we are, and release them out. It is, as far as I'm aware, we are the only beings in the cosmos, galaxy, human beings, so it's a great gift, but it can also be seen as a curse, but it isn't, who have emotions. I was going to say suffer from emotions, but we don't have to suffer if we see it in a very different way. Since I've been more aware of this and falling into the trap of reacting to emotions, there's a noticeable difference in how I'm using I because it's relating to me here, that how I'm very quickly recognizing and realizing as soon as I've done it, and then changing perspective very quickly, or removing myself from a certain situation. And as we continue to do the work, eventually nothing will trigger us at all. An emotion will probably come in, we'll see it as a tool and harmonize it. And this is one more thing that I wanted to share, which is quite a radical idea, but it's an absolute truth. We are not necessarily here on earth to meet people who think the same as us. There's something called dynamic tension in duality, where, especially when you meet life partners, the idea of meeting your opposites, you know, they say opposites attract. So we attract our opposite. And then what we do as humanity is we look for similarities. Oh, you have, the same idea as I have there. You have, and then what happens is we fall in love with that because they're like us. But what we're not recognizing is that we're not growing if somebody is like us. We're not here to meet people who are like us. We are here to meet our opposites. See, what normally happens is then after a period of time, we recognize the differences between us, and that's when problems start to occur. When you perceive it with differently, we'll recognize that we are supposed to meet those opposites, because when those differences occur, they create a dynamic tension, like a friction between them, and that will create emotion, won't it? When that creates emotion, then what we do is exactly what I mentioned before, and the idea is to harmonize that perspective, a different perspective, because there is no right and there is no wrong, it's just another perspective. Put our feet in the shoes, look at that perspective, harmonize it, do not judge it. Judgment is an emotion again, comes from the dark, not the light. Not judge it, accept it, doesn't mean we have to embrace it, accept it and harmonize. Okay, and that's how we grow. And when we harmonize, then how can there be judgment? How can there be hate? How can there be anger and frustration when we accept all that there is? And how can that be when we are all one with different perspectives? Just trying to find, just dropped a peach, just picked a beautiful peach up. We're all one, we're all one whole. No matter what our perspectives, no matter what our race or colour. Does this make sense? I hope it does. It's quite life-changing once we start to embrace it. I also want to share that my most recent readings that I have done is through the Pleiadian star system, and it's a group called Laarkmaa, and a lot of the readings I've done from the books I've ordered and the videos that I've seen have hasn't been new information, but it's been knowledge that has been articulated in such a way that was easy for me to understand. I think it would be for most as well, and it's concreted a lot of the it's like it's been a puzzle, and all the pieces are starting to make sense and join together and harmonize together. Isn't that wonderful? How synchronistic. And I will share that with you. I think I did in the last video as well, but it's been quite life-changing, the synchronization of everything that I've learned through these Pleiadian star system people who energies, they're not people, they're energies that are sharing this with us. And of course they've gone through their own ascension many thousands, millions light years ago. Their technology is completely different. Their technology is based on what it should be, which is light and sound and energy, rather than mechanical density, which is not the way forward. Anyway, that was what I wanted to share today. I hope you enjoyed the peach tree, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the day today, Saturday. It's a glorious day, blue skies here. Bye bye.